Words are about to be spoken on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, brought to you by the ad-free shows and podcast heat networks. I'm John Alba. That's the broken one, the woken one, the spoken one himself, Mr. Matt Hardy. Another busy life, or week in the life of the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. Holy moly, bro.
It's not just been a busy week, it has been a busy life, John. You're right.
It has been a busy life. It is not a slip. It is a truthful statement.
It's a fair assessment, yes. It's been a busy 50 years, basically.
Yes, almost 50. Almost. We're almost.
Almost. Close enough.
Heroes.
I go ahead and round up once I get in the year of. Yeah, it's been a great week here at the Hardy compound. Really exciting week of TNA, which we're going to delve into. Obviously, this is going to be all about against all odds. We're actually going to talk about, even me starting with TNA, kind of the deal I worked out. My initial agreement was to work through this event against all odds and how it kind of extended following that. And then it ends up, Rebby ends up showing up, Jeff ends up showing up, and a lot of stuff going on, but we'll get into all that in a little bit. Let's talk about the modern relevant news and culture of pro wrestling right now.
Yeah, I think against all odds for this show is going to be both literal and metaphorical, because there's a lot of things that happen against all odds, and we'll get into that. Well, before I even get into wrestling, man, how was Father's Day?
Great. It was good. I'm a really easy father. I'm a really easy person to celebrate a holiday for. I mean, I live every life like it's a holiday. Every day that I'm healthy and every day that my family is healthy, it's a holiday to me. So it was nice, man. We hung out, the kids do this thing, which has become a tradition, which Rebby started them on, filling out these forms, and it changes pretty rapidly every single year. They fill out these forms that answer these questions about, what I call them, what my favorite color is, what is my age. And it's really fun to hear from the younger kids as well. And then we went out and we had a little hibachi. It's kind of like my special Father's Day / birthday meal. I think we did a little hibachi. The kids get secured by fire and all that, but it was fun. It was a really nice, just low key laid back day.
I know you never have to do too much twisting of the arm to convince Matt Hardy to go out for Asian food. That's a pretty standard happening in the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. Is it cool to see the older kids like Maxwell and Wolfie kind of get a little more with it as they fill those forms out every year and see that they're starting to be more perceptive to like the realities of life?
It is. I mean, they truly are much more perceptive. And I think the most enjoyable thing about them getting older is just being able to converse with them as adults or as bigger people. Just it's amazing how they pick up on things. It just makes it so much easier to talk and communicate, and they understand things, they comprehend things so much easier. So that's really enjoyable. It is fun watching them fill out those lists as they try and be a little more detailed, and they're a little more with it, and they understand what they're saying where they would have said nonsense. Both Maxwell and Wolfie nailed my age, and it's funny, Barty was close because Barty said 50, but both Wolfie and Maxwell both said 49, so they were on top of their game.
At what age do the skills start to deteriorate?
I don't know. Mine haven't started yet. Mine are going back up. Mine are starting to. My nascence of my skills has begun. We're ascending, not descending.
Perhaps you can share all those details with us live on stage in Atlantic City, July 13th. It's a Hardy Party, a night with the Hardys, a 90s wrestling con. ACX1 Studios at the Pier at Caesars. That's Saturday, July 23rd at 6 o'clock. Tickets are $60, hardyboyslive.com. This is a first of its kind event. It is an hour-long taping of the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, followed by a live Jeff Hardy, Brother Nero acoustic concert extravaganza. Both Hardys sharing the stage for the first time. What an exciting night this is going to be, Matt.
Yeah, this is very cool. We're breaking the mold with this particular event. It's the first time we've ever done both a live podcast and concert, which is so cool. And it's a night out with the Hardys, and I couldn't think of a better way to spend your night. We're going to be doing a meet and greet earlier that day where you can come out, we can meet you, we can greet you, we can delete you. And then you get to sit back and just enjoy entertainment. Myself and John, we're going to talk shop. We're going to be talking some Attitude Era related things. And we're going to be doing a live edition of the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy podcast. And then Jeff, Brother Nero, is going to rock and roll. He's going to very passionately perform and give you a concert for about an hour and a half.
I know Jeff loves doing these. What do you think these concerts do for Jeff? Like, he's such an artist at the heart.
It's his true passion now, more than wrestling, more than anything else. Him being on a stage and telling his stories through the songs he has written and singing and in the little in betweens of storytelling. I mean, it is truly his passion. He loves doing that more than anything else. You're seeing Jeff Hardy in his finest form when he does these things because he loves them so much. It reminds me of how we felt whenever we first started making it in wrestling and we were so passionate about it. That's where Jeff is with his music right now.
I just think it's so cool that both of you in the latter stages of your career have found your passions for storytelling in different ways. You love doing the long form stories here, talking about them on the podcast every week. He does his storytelling in a more metaphorical sense through music, and I think that's so cool that both of you have found those avenues, and now you're going to get a chance to share those live on stage. HardyBoyzLive.com. That's HARDYBOYZ live.com. Tickets $60. I mean, you're getting two events for the price of one with this. It's going to be fantastic. And then, of course, during the weekend, you're going to be meeting, greeting, and deleting. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, it's going to be a very, very fun day at the 90s Wrestling Con. You don't.
I'm very excited for it. That's Saturday, July 23rd at 6 p.m. We hope to see
July 13th. July 13th.
What did I say?
July 23rd.
Oh, it's not July 23rd. It's July 13th. I'm all over the place. I've been moving the past week. My head is broken right now, Matt Hardy, and I'm not sure.
I know the feeling.
July 13th at 6 p.m. Tickets $60. HardyBoyzLive.com. Whew, all over the place, as you can see. We're in a temporary setup right now, and we're doing our best, but we still got the good old Emmy up there. We got the signs. We're trying to make things as normal as possible. All right, you want to talk about some of the current happenings, man? I know everyone wants to know your thoughts on the debut of the Wyatt Sick6. Did you just get a handoff of a snack there?
I did. I just got a required opening. It was requested to open the snack for one baby that has got okay, take it back outside. Thank you, Evermore.
Okay, the Wyatt Sick6, man. This was just a massive hit on social media. It was the final segment of Raw. We saw the reemergence of Uncle Howdy alongside several other characters portrayed by Dexter Lumis, Eric Rowan, Joe Gacy, and Nikki Cross. They did a single tracking shot through the backstage area that looked like it was straight out of a horror movie, man. Everyone wants to know Matt Hardy's thoughts on this. What can you share?
I thought it was excellent. It's really important. I know the WWE mindset, too, is like you really get one opportunity to make a first impression, and you need to make it as impactful and as powerful as possible. And I thought they did an amazing job doing that because they took this and they debuted all the characters in a way where there was a lot left to the mind, a lot of the suspense when you see all of these bodies that were broken and laying all over that had been attacked and injured. The fact that they did it, it felt horrific. It felt creepy. It felt eerie. And it had a great build up where they eventually all assembled on the stage. And then you had Uncle Howdy, hitting the, we're here, and closing things out in honor of Bray. So I thought it was just fantastic. The shot was so intricate. It's so meticulous. We talked about this the other night. Really incredible, great, incredible stuff. And kudos to WWE and WWE production for walking through that. I'm sure they had this thing planned out really, really well in deep detail. And I just thought it was awesome. It came off so incredible on live TV. It worked so great. And I thought it was a great, impactful segment to really kickstart this group.
Give us some perspective here. I mean, you were probably never been involved with a segment that intricate live, but how much rehearsal goes into something like that from a production standpoint?
I mean, I am sure they took everyone and they walked through that several times just to make sure everyone had a pretty good grasp on what they were doing, like how many steps you'd be taking, how long it was taking. And it was also the last thing on the show. So timing was also very critical in that as well. And I would imagine there was someone there, by the cameraman, someone in the shot who was like evading and staying out of the shot somewhere, like, kind of giving them cues or keeping things up. And I know you said you watched some of the other footage and you may have detected some of those people, but it was a very, very intricate shot. And it was really impressive that it was pulled off and it just came off so well. It really looked like a scene out of a horror movie in many ways. And the way it was done and integrated into the WWE universe, I thought was just awesome.
And the way you have to layer something like that together, one thing needs to lead into the other in order for it to seem cohesive. And I think there were some people on the internet who maybe didn't understand the complexity of that. Oh, it's just someone doing a tracking shot. No, it was so much more. It was one thing had to lead directly to the other, which led to the other, which led to the other. And they had to hit that time where they go out at the exact second. And they did it. And I thought it was so impressive, Matt, for that reason. And like you said, if one small thing goes wrong, this whole thing goes off the air. What happens if amidst all the smoke, the cameraman trips or Uncle Howdy trips? Then you've got the next Shockmaster.
Yeah, I mean, it really it's a huge buzzkill on something that was an awesome segment, and it was something a lot of people are into, especially because they are honoring Bray, and this is 100%. If Wyndham Rotunda knew he was going to die tomorrow, if he was alive right now, knew he was going to die tomorrow, he would want something like this to honor him. He would want his legacy. He would want, this creation of the Bray Wyatt universe and the Wyatt family universe, the Wyatt Sick6 universe. He would want it to live on. And he would have been very happy. And I'm sure he is very happy, and he's very proud of how that came out last night. And there were no miscues. Everything went practically perfect. And I was really impressed by it, and I really dug it. Once again, kudos to all the performers, kudos to the production, kudos to whoever put that together.
So I want to dispel something then, because I've seen a lot of discourse. It's like people, I think most people recognize it as you do, but there were a lot of people who were saying, well, this is them, cashing in on his image. It's in bad taste and all this stuff. You feel pretty confident that this is something he would have wanted as part of his legacy?
Absolutely. And of course, I mean, they're a business. Of course, they're going to cash in. Like, I mean, that's what everyone wants to make money. If you're a business and you're running a wrestling company and your ultimate end goal isn't to make money, then you're in business for the wrong reasons. But like, yes, Bray would have wanted this. He would have been cool with it. It's his brother, like, leading the charge. So obviously he feels good about it. It's one of those things. They're in a position right now where I feel very good and confident. If they didn't want to do it, they wouldn't be forced to do it. They're for it, and they feel it is honoring Bray. I feel it is honoring Bray. I was excited about it. I post. The internet is just, the internet is such a mess, man. The internet is such a mess,
Yeah.
and it is what it is.
I feel like most people were pretty positive about it, Matt.
No, they were pretty positive. I'm just talking about my experiences on the internet. Even when I said this, like, so many people were like negative on me. So many people love to come and insult me, whatever. And it just, whatever, do your thing. I'm here living my life, and I'm living my best life every single day. And what someone tweets or what someone posts is not going to affect or change my life at all, because it does not reflect reality. And I want everyone out there to remember that, because it is a place that is very tough for a lot of people when they, whenever they end up posting something that people disagree with, and they come under fire for things. So just, hang out and just remember that stuff does not represent real life. Anyway, I dug the segment. I liked the segment, and I was really happy it was so impactful, because I think that leaves the door open for them to do a lot of special, unique things. Especially, they don't have to be on every show. They don't have to be interactive as like a normal act. They need to be a very unique oddity that only appear every so often. And whenever they're utilized, it's well thought out, and they're used in the right positioning.
Yeah, as long as they stay away from the supernatural stuff, I think they're going to be fine, because I think that was always Bray's undoing, was they would just lean too far into the supernatural stuff. And I think Sean Ross Sapp reported it in his Fightful Select report that someone high up in WWE said they were going to try not to do supernatural. And I think his quote was, how do you do an arm drag on a ghost? And I think that in 2024, we recognize that. I think spooky, cultish, that's fine. I think the cult element of it is like great. Just the supernatural stuff, hopefully, at least on my end, you kind of lean a little away from that for an act that's meant to be taken a little more seriously. Because it's like, what happens, Matt, when you've got them murdering people backstage, and then in a month and a half's time, when they're wrestling a tag match, they're breaking a 5 count, So it's like you have to find that weird balance of presenting it in a way that's digestible, but also works within your established world, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay if they do. I don't want them to do anything outrageous, but I'm okay if they do utilize something that seems that they're magical in some ways. I personally don't mind that, but once again, that's me, and we have different takes when it comes to that. But I do think it is very important that they are just used very wisely in whatever position they're in. You need to stay true to what they're doing, and then you also have to stay true to the athletes of WWE, the WWE superstars that are doing their thing. They have to be able to compete with them on the same level, because they can't be like. They have to be able to exist in the plane of like the real WWE universe.
Exactly. And like, that's where I view your supernatural stuff a little differently than this, because the entire time, even when you launched Broken, Matt, there's always been this underlying sense of humor with it, right? Like, humor has always played into part of the Broken universe. Whereas there's no humor attached. This is a very serious, horror-esque presentation that they're doing. So how that all plays in, I guess we'll find out. Let me ask you this. You teased it for a few months. Were you ever contacted about potentially being part of this group? You've been a free agent now for a couple months. Were there ever any allusions to you being part of the group? What can you share?
The group was established, but there were some conversations that I took part in that maybe down the road there might be something, especially because of my history with Bray.
Okay. Love hearing the sound of that. That's pretty cool there. I know you'd be itching to be part of something like that, so I'm sure that would be very cool for you. And now, all eyes are on Taylor, Uncle Howdy, Bo Dallas, where he has to assume this mantle and step into a very unique position. Do you think he's capable of rising to that occasion?
I guess we'll see. I couldn't imagine him not being motivated to rise to the occasion, especially considering all he's gone through, because him and Wyndham were extremely close. So I am very happy for him, and I very much look forward to him. I am pulling for him with every iota of my being, and I want this thing to work, and I want it to get over, and I want it to be huge. I want it to be a monster cash cow.
Great stuff. Excited to see what ends up coming from it. They had their pay-per-view as well over in Scotland, and nothing too crazy went down on it. CM Punk screwed Drew McIntyre there, and then Drew quit. So I guess we'll have to find out what comes out of that. There's a lot of discourse from that. Anything else on that end you'd like to dive into before we head into the meat and bones of stuff?
I didn't get to see the entire pay-per-view, but what I saw of the pay-per-view I really liked and I really enjoyed. The CM Punk utilization I thought was done really well. It was a unique thing, and it fit both people's personas, I think, to a degree, and once again, the CM Punk harassing and trolling Drew McIntyre continues.
Yeah, see, we differ a little bit on that. I thought with what they ended up doing, they executed it very well. And I thought the way they shot the camera, the WWE production is just so miles ahead of what it was even a few months ago. It's pretty incredible. However, it felt to me like, that crowd, that's Drew's home crowd, right? Like, they're ready for him to have a moment of sorts. And CM Punk is all over social media that he's in Scotland. He wasn't posting it, but it was all over social media that he's there. Drew's character is that he's chronically online, right? That's like who his character is. He's a troll online, essentially, in the context of the universe. And as a smart heel, which is also part of his character, you would think that there would at least be some sort of inkling that Punk might be there, or he'd have to keep his head on a swivel. And having seen him on social media, I feel like it could have been a really cool opportunity to tell that story all night long of Drew McIntyre looking all over that building for CM Punk. Where is he? He's paranoid. And what do we always talk about with Drew's character? He takes his eyes off the prize. So he's so paranoid about Punk being there to screw him that he takes his eyes off the prize, and then eventually Punk screws him. I don't know, man. When I'm thinking about booking, I'm always trying to think of how do you layer that even a little more. And not to say that's right or wrong, but that's the stuff I love digging in the weeds on.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I I thought it was done very creatively. How the ref was bumped, he was down and out.
Mm-hmm.
You see Punk running in, and you don't reveal him. He does the count, and, to the common fan who's just watching, like, oh, there's another referee, and then he stops, and then he gets to play it off like, oh, I'm still injured, I couldn't make the count or whatever it may be. Then you have that moment with him and Drew, and I do get where you're coming from, but I didn't mind how they did it, and that doesn't bother me. And I think with Drew being the heel in the scenario, I don't think it hurts him either.
Yeah, no,
it is one of those things where I would have loved to have seen a Drew McIntyre win and just have a huge party there. It would have done a lot for the equity in that building.
Oh yeah,
and that, and in front of that crowd, clash at the castle. But it is what it is. I mean, they have other plans that they want to do with Damian Priest, and I don't mind them getting out of it that way.
I mean, how great would it have been if this time McIntyre was prepared and had an answer for Punk, and he wins in front of Punk, and he blows him the kiss like Punk did in Chicago, and he leaves with the title. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities.
Sure,
that's the beauty of wrestling booking. It really is subjective.
It is so subjective. It really is. And people start commenting online like they're an expert, someone who has 10 times, they follow 10 times as many people as followers they have, and they're talking about how they're an expert and they're perfect and this is what they should have done. That now they're going to go out of business because they made these decisions. It's too funny.
Their handle is Paul 32064D7Y32. You know those types.
Oh, I know.
All right, Matt. That's some good stuff there. We'll get into some more stuff. I do want to ping you in the next few weeks. I've been trying to line up a guest for us because this Who Killed WCW documentary has been airing, and I'm trying to line up a special guest related to it for us because I think we could have a really fun conversation with them. But we'll save that for a few weeks from now.
Have you watched this Who Killed WCW?
I have.
And how was it?
Well, we're 3 episodes. You got through 3 episodes, and I'm still wondering who killed WCW. So it's a well-made documentary, but no one takes any accountability whatsoever. And
I mean, they're not going to tell you who killed WCW until the last episode. You have to watch. You have to watch them all.
I guess for me, it's more like if you know the story, you like none of this is really new information to you. It's more for the casual fan, if you will. Mm-hmm. And I guess the most interesting stuff that comes out of it is they get some like Turner executives talking about it, which there's never really been a lot of interviews with. So that's kind of interesting.
That's interesting for sure.
Yeah.
How many episodes are there?
There have been 3. I think there's 4, unless I'm mistaken, but I think there's 4. So yeah, I mean,
so we're in the home stretch. Last episode's coming up.
Yeah, I could be wrong. They may have. Let me see. I'm gonna check to see how many episodes for sure. Yeah, there's 4 episodes. Yes, so we're 3 in. So they'll get to it. But the one cool thing they did tease, they have footage from that last Nitro that's never been aired before. Like they had camera crews shooting all day long at that last Nitro, and the footage went into the vaults. And I think in that last episode, you're going to see a lot of it. So that's kind of cool. I'm into that. I love archive footage like that. So
how are they portraying your boy Eric Bischoff?
It's kind of exactly what you would expect,
Interesting.
Listen, Eric certainly was at fault for things, but there were also a lot of things that were way above his head that was happening at the network level. And the Russo booking, I know you've always had a good relationship with Russo, but the Russo booking was just abominably bad at points. Abominably bad. So like when I always crack up, Matt, when people try to clown AEW right now, or even when they clown WWE in like 2019 or so, and that was bad. 2019 WWE is bad. Nothing comes even close to how bad WCW was in 2000. Like WCW 2000 is the worst year of professional wrestling for any company that's ever existed in the United States. It's not even close. I mean, it's just you have stories that start and then by the end of the show have been swerved 5 different times. Guys come out for segments and they're basically just forgotten about. Russo wins the world title. Arquette wins the world title. Viagra on a pole. It's just nothing is that bad. For as bad as someone's like, oh, Tony Khan can't book wrestling, nothing is like that. I can't even imagine what you guys were saying in the WWF locker room at the time.
We were saying we hope they don't go out of business. I just remember when Bischoff said he was trying to get Fusion to buy the company or whatever so he could run it and get it away from the Turner people. We all had our fingers crossed that that would happen because we did not want them to go out of business.
Yeah, dude. If you want to like really go on an acid trip, or if any of you want to punish yourself for some reason, just cue up the cock and go onto WCW Thunder in the year 2000. And it's a great way to kill some brain cells for a couple hours each night. Just there's a great, did you see the clip of Bret Hart talking about things?
The clip, yes. Who was he talking about?
It was just like a mashup clip of his interview from the documentary. And he's just like, they were idiots. They're stupid. They're morons. Like, it was just Bret just railing on everything. And it was so great. It was so fantastic. So if you're into that stuff, go check it out. But I do have a guest from that I'm really trying hard to nail down for this. So anyway, Matt, I don't want to waste any more time. We got a lot to talk about with this TNA stuff. But before we can get into that, you know what I got to ask? Please hit us with that Matt fact.
Matt fact. Matt is energized for the future.
I love that. It's funny, when Jeff debuted in TNA back in 2004, his entrance video said, "See you in the future." And here we are 20 years into the future, and you're still energized for the future. It's kind of cool. And we got the TNA return of Brother Nero, Jeff Hardy, this past week at Against All Odds. You did not beat Moose, unfortunately, for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. You speared your wife through a table.
But I would have beaten Moose after the leg drop off the ladder through the table. I rolled him in, twist of hate. There was a 15 count waiting to happen.
It's true.
The Snow Witch, Alicia, came and broke that up. And that is what brought my wife out. And one event led to another. And then I was going to spear Moose through the table, and he pulled Queen Rebecca right in front of me, and boom, I put her through. So a little bit of heat on the home front. But after I talked things through, and she understood what was going on. She watched the footage back. We were okay.
I was gonna say, you end up sleeping on the couch for a couple days, or what's the deal there?
No. We were okay.
Okay.
She posted a video saying like when you ask your man to blow your back out, so that I like took it literally. And I just for the next couple of days after that, I just tried to blow her back out the right way, and everything seemed to be okay.
Gotcha. Okay. You did it. You did it the holy way. Understood. Got it. Okay. Hey, you know what? There's stuff to celebrate, I suppose, any day. Any day can be Father's Day in the extreme life of Matt Hardy. That's for damn sure.
That's right. That is true.
So what a night, man. I mean, we'll talk about more of the logistics from it, but tell us, how did this all unfold? We heard that Jeff's contract was expiring the night before, and how quickly did all this come together?
Well, let's even go back in time. Let's talk about when I first came to TNA. Let's start the story here. So when I had been buzzed by TNA, Tommy Dreamer, and he had said, TNA's really interested in doing something with you. You know, are you up for doing it? Are you up for doing it? And I had buzzed him back a couple of days after he contacted me. And I just said, yeah, I am. I am free for this Rebellion date. He'd sent me all these dates, right? They had. I said, and it's just funny, like a lot of the cons I'm doing, it kind of fits into my schedule, what you're doing. And then we ended up putting that together where I would show up and do something at Rebellion. And I talked with Creative a little bit. And with Creative, we talked about a couple different directions, maybe even something with Frank Kazarian, who's doing the King of TNA, maybe something with Moose, a couple other things. And I said, dude, let's do this deal with Moose. I said, let's build. And Jeff was still with AEW, obviously, right? And I was saying, well, let me kind of like match up to what his deal is when his deal ends, and I'll work through that. And if something works where I can go back to AEW and we team together, then that's cool. We'll do that. And as you know, I was talking with those guys back and forth many, many times. We came to 2 or 3 different offers, and nothing was quite what myself probably what I wanted, because I was doing all the negotiating for myself and Jeff. That's how things work here. But I was trying to set myself up for something that was near when Jeff's contract ended. I ended up doing against all odds. I said, let me do a program with Moose. We'll have a killer blow-off match, and then I'll put Moose over, and that'll be the deal. And like, I like Moose a lot. I think he's a great dude. Really, you can tell he's an athlete. You can tell he played football. Like when he starts jumping and doing stuff, like he said, clothesline me, I'll do a backflip. And he legit did a backflip. Like, he's a crazy athlete, right? So I said, that'd be cool. I'll come in, I'll do this. We'll build up an angle. It'll get me hot. It'll rebuild equity back in myself, because myself and Jeff had been devalued for so long, the last almost year. And then I said, let me build up some value in myself, and then I can put Moose over in this match, and it'll be a win-win for both guys. And that was the plan. So as time started going on, and then Jeff was just telling me, like, yeah, no one's reached out to me. And I was like, are you going to reach out to them? The only time they had offered Jeff a deal was when they would offer me a deal. If I would speak to someone and, you know, make it my intent to reach out to them, or like they would call me and I would get back with them, whatever it may be. But like, Jeff didn't care. Jeff wasn't going to, unless they just offered him something that he liked and was good, he wasn't going to reach out, or he didn't care. So as Jeff was saying, they said, well, no one's talked to me, you know, my deal might be up. I said, okay, well, I said, I'm really enjoying this time at TNA. I said, and Jeff isn't looking to resign. No one has reached out to him. Jeff doesn't really feel like he's necessarily wanted there. Jeff's an interesting cat, as you know. He thinks very differently. And if someone is not like trying to reach out to him to tell him, like, hey, we really want to do this with you, or want to do that with you, or whatever else, if you're just like sitting back and they don't contact you, then he just kind of feels like, oh, well, they must not want me, you know, I'll move on. That's kind of how he is. So I told them I would love to extend this thing a little bit. And they said, well, if Jeff's deal's coming up, because you said initially, would Jeff be interested in doing this? And I just told Jeff, I said, if your deal comes up, like, you know, TNA said, like, whenever your AEW deal is done and is finished, they'd be interested in doing something with it if you would like to. And Jeff got back with me a couple of days after that, which is pretty rare for him. He said, you know what? Yeah. He said, like, if my AEW deal runs out and they don't offer me anything, he said, I'd be up for that. He said, I would love to come there. I've always loved my time at TNA. And that's kind of, lo and behold, what happened. And then we got to the day before, where his contract was coming up that day. I started talking to them about creatively, you know, like, what if Jeff does come tomorrow, this, that, the other thing, what could we do going forward? And we did a little workshopping. And then that Friday morning, we spoke with Jeff. We got Jeff a flight that afternoon, getting in that evening to Chicago. And lo and behold, Jeff showed up at the show, you know. So that was going to be my last night. I wanted to do a blow off. I wanted to just like put Moose over strong, have a great match with him, and have a great rivalry during this time, you know. But now, lo and behold, that Jeff's there, I think we can move very simply into something with, you know, Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers for the titles too.
And it's not, I want to clarify, you're not still on any formal contract, correct?
No. We're both free agents. We don't have any contract. We're just doing TNA per appearance right now. And we've agreed to work with them for a couple more months, and then we're not opposed to extending that, you know. And if they wanted to offer something, you know, we would have a conversation with them, you know, because it's been really good. I've really enjoyed my time there, and it's been fun. And I feel energized. It's nice because I feel utilized. I feel optimized, like, because I feel like one of the issues in AEW, and I said this before, I did Busted Open earlier today. Like, when we first came in and we were first getting used, like, we were in a good spot. It was very cool what we were doing. I liked what Tony was doing with us, and we were on the path to win the titles. And then Jeff got in trouble. Jeff messed up, and that was all on Jeff. You know, that was not on Tony. That was not on AEW. That was on Jeff, and it just is what it is. So I did my thing. Jeff went and got himself right. Whenever he came back, you know, I figured, it'll probably take a couple months, 2-3 months to prove himself, because I knew where Jeff was here in his head. I knew what kind of positive headspace he was in and how good of a place he was in. I said it'll probably take 2 or 3 months. He'll like earn the trust back of these people, and then maybe we'll be off and running. But just that after Jeff came back, you know, we didn't win a tag team match for a year. It's crazy. We're the Hardys. We didn't win a tag team match on TV in a year. And
Not
I like
even an enhancement match or anything.
I mean, I brought this point up, like, what are we doing? Like, we need, just give us a win. Like, we don't need to be we don't need to be the champions. We don't need to be undefeated, but just like, we need a win, you know, at some point. And it just was very frustrating. And whenever Jeff did a deal where he wrestled Darby because Sting got hurt and they switched up and they made we're going to be teaming some more with Mark Briscoe. We're talking about doing 6-mans or tags, whatever. There were all these matches on the table. And I just wanted a story more than anything else. I wanted to get into some sort of story that we could sink our teeth into, that we could take our characters and gravitate towards and really put in the work. We were up for turning heel. We were up for being, this larger than life tag team that almost buys into that they're the greatest tag team of all time, and almost make, parody the stuff and do it so big and over the top that I think could have even got over his baby faces. But we didn't end up doing that. We didn't get the full opportunity to follow through with that. And then Jeff started having singles matches. And after every singles match, he'd come up to me and go why am I doing singles matches? Why are we not teaming? We're like the Hardys, right? We're like the Hardy Boys. Why are we not teaming? Why am I doing these singles? And I just think at the end of the day, a lot of the internet people, that like to give us a hard time because we're older, we are of advanced age, whatever it may be. And they they're just critical. They're just like, get these guys out of here, let them move on, whatever. But there's no denying that every night we would come out in AEW, it was one of the biggest pops of the night. And the people that actually paid to purchase tickets were happy to see us. And they would chant for us, they would cheer for us, and they were all about it every single time. But I don't know. I just think in AEW, Tony Khan was just more focused on having, a great 5-star match or a great banger than, utilizing us as the Hardys and legends, which I think we could have been utilized in a smart capacity that would have optimized our performance. And you would still had these generational performers that all this audience is still big fans of. We have a huge fan base. Every week we're out, we have a huge fan base. And there were people that would start telling us at cons too, during that time, during the end of my AEW run, they said, yeah, so since you're not on, you guys never really do anything good, we've kind of just stopped watching, And I mean, that's our fans, not AEW fans in general. That's our fans. So I don't know. It's just, it was frustrating, but at the end of the day, I ended up leaving. Jeff ended up leaving, and we're very happy that we're somewhere where we're being utilized and we're going to be able to be optimized to be as good as we can possibly be.
A lot to dig into there, so I want to break that down in a few places. But the part about you guys just kind of being on the sidelines there in AEW, and you feeling that Tony wanted just the 5-star matches and stuff. Let's be fair here for a second, okay? The Hardys, where you guys are right now in your careers, are not what is typically on the AEW product, right? Can we agree on that? Where you are
Sure.
is not how the AEW product is typically presented. Hell, I mean, just being even further real, the AEW tag team division doesn't even really exist right now. It was one of the backbones of the company when it launched, and now it's barely even present on the television show. So there were probably a lot of moving pieces in play on that front, and I don't think you were ever going to get what you were hoping to get at this stage from there, because the priorities are just different. And I don't think that's necessarily personally against you, but it just wrong place, wrong time kind of thing. I really do believe that. Do you think there's any truth to that?
I mean, maybe we're big stars. There's no doubt about that.
100%.
And we can still go. I mean, it was hard to stay motivated towards the end of that, even there. Much like I just knew I had an opportunity to do something. I just went in and main event a pay-per-view, and we killed it. The numbers were up for that. The episode that we were in, we did a silly Hardy Compound episode, which the numbers were up for that, which there was buzz, and they're generating some stuff. The Slammiversary tickets right now are 2,300 tickets sold, which is amazing. But yeah, it's one of those things. I feel like if you have the Hardy Boys, one of the most popular tag teams, if not the most popular overall when it comes to merchandise, if you can't find a way to utilize us and fit us into your product in a positive way, then I think that's problematic.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there.
That's me.
Totally agree. No, I mean, you're not wrong, Matt. You're not wrong. I totally agree with you on that. And what I was just saying before, I know you're not someone who's we need to be featured on TV every single week, wrestling 15-minute, 20-minute matches. I know that's not what you're calling for here. You're just asking for a valued spot, and I totally get that.
Of course not.
And it's sad because you mentioned the characters earlier, the larger than life Carney heel characters before. You workshopped it subtly a few times on TV, and there were a lot of fans who picked up on it and took interest in it. I know you're pretty aware of the comments being told. I thought you guys were ready to tap into something pretty cool there. Did you formally pitch stuff like that?
Yes, that was formally pitched. That was something that was absolutely formally pitched. You know, we ran it by Will Washington, a couple of the other guys, Jimmy Jacobs. We'd mentioned it. I think I'd even mentioned it to Tony at some point. And I mean, I wanted us to seem like we were frustrated there and we were going to change. Then we get a couple wins and we're like, oh my God, we're back. We've been on the streak. We are the greatest of all time. And once again, before people start, you know, changing the narrative on this too, like, once again, I'm just expressing some of my creative frustrations there. Tony Khan is a great dude. Tony Khan took great care of us because he paid us very well. He takes care of his wrestlers to the greatest extent. So I don't want anyone thinking this is coming off any different. This is just me speaking honestly from my perspective. And I want AEW to succeed. It's important. It is paramount that AEW succeeds in pro wrestling industry. And I also think just being at TNA is a positive thing too, because I think TNA is very, very important in the pro wrestling industry as well. It's a great place for like Speedball Mike Bailey getting that opportunity there. Like I've got to work with him, you know, really enjoyed him so much. Joe Hendry getting that opportunity, someone who's really, I mean, he's like selling tons and tons of merch, the way he's, you know, streamed and placed and landed on all these charts. I mean, just there's a lot of great guys there who can be, you know, big stars in the future, whether it be WWE, AEW, whatever else. TNA is very important and it needs to be around too. And if we can do stuff to contribute and make it grow and be bigger and better, then I'm very good doing that as well.
Matt, who is one band or one artist that you've never seen that you hope to one day be able to?
That is a great question. I've seen almost everyone that I really, really dig. But a band that I haven't seen that I dig, I've seen another version of them. I've seen Tool. I have never seen a Perfect Circle play. I would like to see that version of Maynard.
Okay, I dig that. Well, hypothetically speaking, if a Perfect Circle comes around, well, Matt Hardy, we can help you get there with our friends over at Game Time. Game Time makes getting tickets for concerts and events faster and easier than ever before. Even if you don't buy tickets right away, prices on the Game Time app actually go down closer to the show start time with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying concert tickets. I'm going to see Foo Fighters a month from now at Citi Field. I'm going to night 2. But part of me thinks, Matt, that I might want to get in on night 1 too. Actually, one of the opening acts is Wolfgang Van Halen, someone who shares the likeness of your son, Wolfgang Hardy. You know, he's the son of the legendary Eddie Van Halen. He's got his band Mammoth that I really think is excellent. And I've got tickets for night 2, but I'm probably going to have to be a last minute buy for night 1 if I choose to go. And the way I'm going to get there is going to be through the Game Time app and using that promo code Hardy to get $20 off my first purchase and a whole lot more. What's your favorite part of the Game Time app, Matt?
Just how it's straightforward, man. They give you everything in one destination, and there's nothing better than one-stop shopping.
With last-minute deals, you can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and anything in between, including pro wrestling, by the way. Their flash deals allow you to save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event. You can save even more with the zone deals when you choose a section and you actually let Game Time choose the seats. What's the difference at that point? You toggle on their all-in pricing feature. It's going to show you the total upfront, no surprise fees at checkout, and with their view from their seat option, you can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you actually buy it. Take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Hardy for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code HARDY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Like I said, there was kind of a lot that you got into on that AEW front and the whole contract situation and some of the frustrations there. Do you view it as a place that you would entertain going back to at any point if the right opportunity came along?
I mean, I never say never about any place. You know, like people say, like I would never go back there. You know, I know Punk said that about WWE. I would never go back there. You know, don't ever say that, because if you're a wrestler, you're willing to go back anywhere. I mean, there's a lot of things about AEW that I really enjoyed. Just like at the end when Jeff came back, and I felt like Jeff had tried to repent for his wrongdoings, and I felt like he had really worked hard to prove himself, and that he was there, and he was a team player, and hopefully we're going to get another opportunity. And once again, we got that opportunity, and that was not on Tony in the beginning. That was not on AEW. That was on Jeff, and that lies solely on Jeff, because he's the one that screwed up earlier on. And I am openly admitting that. That is me speaking honestly. And we would have loved to being able to get another opportunity to do that, and to work hard, to work smart, whatever else, and to have that last great run, as a tag team, and have done it in AEW. I would have been okay doing that. But, lo and behold, just sometimes things don't work out the way you hope they do. And sometimes you have to change course. Sometimes you have to go in a different door, and you have to just start, moving your ass forward and keeping your chin up. And that's where we're at right now.
But can you, and I'm playing devil's advocate here, can you fault Tony Khan and the AEW front office for not wanting to give that other opportunity after they invested, and then on their end, their investment fell short in that moment?
No, I can't fault them. I mean, I feel like if you have the Hardys, I mean, we are extremely popular. We're in the conversation for the greatest tag team of all time. I just don't see how you don't utilize this. I mean, once again, if it was the Bucks doing it, it would have been a different story. Once again, I love the Bucks. I mean, every time they got the opportunity when they wanted to work with someone, it would be us, me and Jeff, or me, Jeff, and Isaiah first off. That's the biggest thing I miss from AEW. I just miss hanging out with the Bucks, shooting the breeze with those guys, and talking shop, and even working with them, because the Bucks are great. Everybody knows here. That's no secret. I got lots of love for the Bucks, and I really miss seeing them on a weekly basis more than anything else.
What was your favorite part about your AEW run?
I was really excited to start as Broken Matt, without having fans in the beginning. That was damaging. I think, that just, it was tough, because it really does. Broken Matt's a character that plays off the crowd. I would say my favorite thing in AEW while I was there was probably the Stadium Stampede match. That was probably my favorite thing in AEW.
What about from like a culture standpoint, your favorite thing about the company?
My favorite thing about the company,
just from your experience. It's not even just like your favorite like program or something. Just like like working with Private Party or anything like that.
I mean, yes, I obviously enjoyed that. I mean, there were a lot of people that I dealt with, where they would ask me about feedback on this or that, and trying to give back, and I was ready to accept that role. I mean, I do now too. Like, just the fact that there are young guys that grew up watching us, that were very inspired by us, that I can actually speak to them and give back to the business. That's very important to me. I definitely dig that. And it was just probably the camaraderie that came along with the pandemic, because we were all together in Jacksonville working week in and week out. I would probably say that is maybe my most fond memory from a cultural standpoint as well, because I felt like everyone had the greater good in mind. Everyone wanted to go out and like try and put on this kick-ass, really good show to try and let the rest of the world kind of escape their reality, which was COVID, because that was such a nightmare time in America and the world.
You're a pretty forward-thinking guy when it comes to wrestling and what it can be and learning. Is there anything you learned from your AEW run about performers, the industry, anything of that nature?
I mean, I just
for better or for worse.
I mean, I started picking up on how some of the newer guys, worked a little, faster paced matches in some degrees. And there was a couple times where I told the Bucks who were there, said, no, you tell me what you think we should do here, because this is like your audience, that you guys have kind of forged. So, I'm totally open for it. Have an open mind and willing and ready. So yeah, I mean, it was, at the end of the day, man, at the end of the day, and this, once again, this is my opinion. This is not me speaking on facts. But pro wrestling isn't necessarily about the pro wrestling. Pro wrestling, more than anything else, is about being invested on a persona, a character that is on a journey that you want to see succeed, that you want to see him overcome the obstacles. You want to see this. You want to see your guy get yours. I feel like that is the most important thing that pro wrestling is about at the end of the day. And I just think some of the beliefs in AW are different. I feel like Tony puts the most importance on the quality of the match. And I mean, that's okay. It's his company. It's his money. Of course he should be doing that, whatever he wants. And I think the kind of fan he is, that is kind of the fan he caters to in many, many ways. And I think, and this is just my personal standpoint, it's not right. It's not wrong. As Tony's isn't right or isn't wrong. I kind of see things a little differently. I see things more about, the entertainment aspect. And I see things, I feel like the storytelling and the journey, the arc of certain characters is what are going to have people the most invested in your show more than wrestling. That's my opinion, and only my opinion.
Are there a lot of people in the company that share that opinion?
There are some people that share that opinion.
I was curious. Yeah, I mean, listen, man, I think most pro wrestling fans would agree that right now AEW is kind of in a cool period. Not to say that it couldn't explode at any moment's notice. I think AEW, there were a lot of moving pieces, right?
Man, I'm even gonna say something that's crazy. Sorry to interrupt you, but you were just saying like a cooling down period or whatever. It's so strange how, in 2019, 2020, like AEW was just so super duper cool. And like WWE was like, WWE, it sucks. It's not good. It's crazy how AEW has like lost cool points and WWE has gained so much.
Well, that was the point I was just going to make. Yeah. I think those things are directly related, Matt, because AEW launched on the premise of being an alternative to a bad WWE product.
Right.
And as the WWE product improved, all of a sudden, that desire for an alternative from a lot of fans probably changed a little bit. Not to say that there wasn't a massive desire. There certainly was. And I think that will be reflected in whatever media rights deal that AEW gets. And I think the wrestling in AEW, without question, is still the best in the United States. Like pound for pound in-ring action. You watch AEW, you're going to get the wrestling show. But I think in that 2020, 2021, even early 2022 period, the storytelling was probably a little more cohesive to the in-ring action. And now, for whatever reason, that has changed a little bit. Not to say that there isn't brilliance going on. There certainly is. And when you have, I mean, I know you'll say this and agree with this too, that AEW roster is one of the most talented rosters ever assembled in pro wrestling history. So when you have that talent, guys are going to shine through. And gals are going to shine through. They're going to find ways to create those stories that resonate. But it just does feel like the product is very different than the product you came into back in 2020. And I think that's why maybe that fit wasn't as wholesome as it had been at one point for you.
Maybe. I mean, they're putting on wrestling for the sickos like you, John. It's for the sickos.
Listen, man, it's so fun. I want to take a second here, not to platform myself here on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, but I always get from like social media people, it's like, oh, and even you make comments sometimes where it's like, oh, like this is like definitely like this is the shit that you love and stuff. Man, like I grew up WWE pilled, like that is how I learned wrestling, from watching the WWE style. And yeah, the sports journalist and sports fan in me does enjoy a really athletic presentation to pro wrestling. And like, if I had to favor like an in-ring style, maybe I skew a little bit towards that type of wrestling. But at the end of the day, good storytelling is good storytelling. I don't care if that's WWE, if that's AEW, if it's TNA, if it's Ring of Honor, New Japan. That's what is going to be the most memorable stuff to me. If you execute a story with a great match, that's what the art should be. Those two things coming together with synergy.
Agreed. I don't disagree with any of that.
You know, like the perfect example is Cody versus Roman at Mania, where it was a lot of gaga. Sure, there was a lot of chaos and sports entertainment ballyhoo, but they also had like a 20-minute wrestling match in the middle of that match. And then you got the satisfying storytelling payoff at the end of it. To me, that checks off all the boxes of what a pro wrestling match should have.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. I thought that was phenomenal.
So that's my approach when I think about wrestling. I do not have brand allegiance to any company in particular, nor do you. That's my favorite part about you. You're very open-minded about promoting all these different companies, and that's great. That's what it should be.
I mean, I'm a pro wrestling guy at the end of the day. You know what I mean? I mean,
So
I grew up dreaming to be a pro wrestler, and I was able to obtain that goal, and I'm very happy to be doing it. Where it just depends on where I, lay my jacket down.
So do you guys see yourself doing an NXT run with this collaboration with TNA?
Who knows? Who knows, man? Anything can happen in the extreme life of Matt Hardy.
Is that something you'd be open to, doing an appearance without being signed or anything of that nature?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I don't think that I don't think an NXT or a WWE appearance, a few months down the road isn't anything that is crazy. Not at all.
What is appealing to you about the current NXT product?
I mean, I just like the fact that they are. I mean, I feel like it's kind of went back to a point where they're really trying to develop stars and teach them how to work television. They get to go out and they have the times, and it builds people up, and they try and create stars, and then they feed them into the main roster. I mean, I think that that's a very beneficial thing to have.
I just ask that because as I hear you talking about kind of what you wanted to do in AEW, it seems like what NXT is doing with guys like Shawn Spears, who come in and they're veterans who have some equity, some TV time elsewhere, and then they go work with these younger talents and help develop them. And they're featured, but they're also featuring the younger talent. Me using context clues, that seems to be like the kind of thing you want to be doing right now. Is there truth to that?
Maybe not. I may have changed my mind entirely just with what I want to do with this run, just with the way I'm working so hard on changing my body and changing everything about me physically. And it's just like the more I get into it and the more success I see for it, the harder I want to go that direction.
Yeah. I mean, you look great. You're moving great. I thought some of your stuff with Moose was some of your best in-ring stuff you've done in a long time. Did you feel that way too?
I felt great. I mean, I've just been killing cardio. Like we had to cut things out because I think we had 22, 23 minutes, allotted, and we ended up doing like 22 minutes. But yeah, I felt great out there. I mean, I felt like it was 2000. I was never breathing hard at one point. I just felt great. Things didn't hurt. It was really, really good. I felt good about it. There was one point where, it ate up a little time because whenever I backdropped him out on that ladder, and I was going to initially set that up to ladder and leg drop off it, but that ladder was broke. The hinge was completely broke on it. And I got smartened up to it and saw it right at the last second. So I had to get another ladder, which there were a couple of things like that, especially when you're doing those gimmick matches with these inanimate objects. They can take a little time to set up in position. So that was one thing that ate up a little bit of time there. And also, I wish we had had a camera that had followed us out, and I thought we were going to into the crowd whenever we fought in the crowd, because there was some pretty good violent fighting and brawling going on whenever we did that as well.
Yeah. What I want to ask you, your promo after the match got some good traction on the internet, and Sean reported that the locker room was really happy with that whole post-match thing that you guys did.
Right.
I know you spoke very highly of Joe Hendry and the TNA crowd. What made you want to do that, and what was behind the thinking there?
I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, I'm still there, regardless of what I'm doing, and my job as someone who is a legitimate star is to try and rub off my star power on as many people as I can, especially the people that are, you can kind of see that are the chosen people. I feel a lot of the buzz on the last few TNA tapings that have been out with Joe Hendry, just the way the crowd is so emotionally connected to him. It reminds me of when Broken Matt Hardy was really getting hot. That's kind of how that feels to me. And I said that out there very openly. And I think it's going to be really interesting the next couple of weeks, what you see on TV, because you're going to kind of see a morph. Like, I cut a hell of a promo on TV just about what they did to my wife with Moose pulling her in, and then Eddie Edwards pie-faced her, and Alicia, the Snow Witch, beating her. You just see Matt Hardy speaking, and Jeff is there as well. So you're going to see almost like a little bit of a morphed Broken Matt and kind of standard Matt Hardy these next couple weeks. And obviously very excited for this taping coming up in Philadelphia, because myself and Jeff, we are going to be having the first Hardy Boyz tag team match since returning to TNA that weekend. And the other match I'm going to be having that weekend, my wife, after 8 years, is coming out of retirement, and myself and her are going to be taking on Eddie Edwards and the Snow Witch in Philadelphia too.
This is like when Shawn Michaels came out of retirement for Saudi Arabia. You never saw it coming, but all of a sudden, here we are. How's she feeling about that? She excited? Reluctantly excited?
After she took that twist of fate, I think she may have rethought it a little bit just after she gave the twist of fate, because it had been a while since she had bumped, obviously. She is excited, and she's very nervous. Like, I wasn't nervous for my match at all with Moose. It was pretty straightforward, and I felt good about it. I enjoy working with him, but like, she was so nervous just about her part, and those nerves were around all day. She made me nervous just for her, just because she was so nervous all day. Like, I was fine with my stuff, but she's excited for it, and she wants to kind of like just try and go out with a bang. So we'll rock and roll. It's gonna be fun in Philly, in the most extreme arena in all of America. We're gonna be at the 2300 Arena, ECW Arena. One night Matt and Rebby team, one night Matt and Jeff team. It's gonna be a hell of a weekend.
Are you gonna look her in the face and say, "I'm sorry, I love you," and then twist to fate her?
Probably not.
Okay.
Yeah, I like sharing our children and living together in the same house.
Yeah, one thing real quick on the Joe Hendry front. The ultimate litmus test, like you said, it reminds you of Broken Matt. The ultimate litmus test that something is working. He goes into NXT and everyone knew his shtick. Everyone knew his gimmick. So that tells you that it's kind of like what you were saying last week, how everyone knew the deletes even outside of TNA.
Yeah.
And it put it on Vince's radar. And when he steps into another company and people in that NXT arena know his "I believe in Joe Hendry" double clap and all that stuff, that's a pretty good sign, isn't that?
Yeah, let me go into Joe Hendry for a second. It was very cool whenever I met him. We had met back in the day when I was doing that Inside the Ropes, that the little tour. I did like a week-long tour over in the UK, and he was in there. And I do remember meeting him at one point in there. I remember hearing that name for sure. And I remember he had some buzz on the indies and whatnot. But then, like, after coming into TNA and speaking to him and interacting with him and dealing with him, just a really classy guy. He's great at social media, the way he's on top of stuff. Even some of the stuff he was posted or people would make for him and send reminded me a lot of the stuff that I would do right when Broken Matt got hot. He was very good on that. And then when he started just like moving up these charts, especially in the UK, and he was like charting on America, that was really incredible with that song. And you could just feel like a special vibe around him. And he's a guy who thinks outside the box. He thinks differently. And I love the fact that he's I feel like he's a pretty standard, bare bones wrestler in many, many ways, but he gets the entertainment aspect, and he also gets the promotion aspect of his character and his role and his arc outside of the ring. And he's really good at that, especially social media content.
No, it's like lean into your strengths, right? Like, this guy legitimately played music professionally. So lean into that and make that part of who you are. Some of the best characters encompass some of the most authentic parts of the people portraying them.
Yeah.
So that's great as far as I see it. Good
and,
stuff.
And it's cool too, because he is a guy that is over. People love him. He's legit selling a ton of merch at TNA. And the fact that he did this deal where he went to NXT and all the guys jumped on him, and Frank Kazarian kind of led the charge, which he's in a rivalry with the TNA and ends up dumping him out. It's one of those things, like, as opposed to getting like eliminated mid-match that is kind of forgetful, I would rather him be eliminated in the beginning where a bunch of guys jump on him and, you know, then Frankie dumps him out and like watch the crowd react because they're obviously going to be upset. And that was very much like you said, that was a litmus test for how popular he was. The way people were pissed off because they wanted to see him and they wanted to see him perform and they want to see him live at NXT. So that was really interesting. And I think it's going to add a lot of fuel to the fire that is building between Frank Kazarian and Joe Hendry in the future. And there's some very exciting stuff coming up in TNA. And I know that they realize he is the guy that they're going to have to run with very, very soon.
So, Matt Hardy, do you believe in Joe Hendry?
I damn sure do believe in Joe Hendry. Quote
Thought
me.
you would. Thought you would. Good stuff, man. Anything else you want to add?
No, just going to say it was a really fun weekend. It was great. It was a sold-out audience. You know, it sold out a week in advance. The fire marshal shut stuff down. I know there were pushing 1,500 people in that venue. Like, they sold standing room tickets. They didn't sell standing room tickets only, but they came in and there were so many people that had purchased tickets from the sellout. Some people had to stand because there weren't even enough seats, and they allowed that to happen to a degree. But there was one point where they came in the back and they told TNA management, they said, if you guys leave and go out of the building, we're not going to let you back in because this is over capacity. The fire marshal had said that, and they actually made an announcement when they were shooting, doing a pre-tape backstage or whatever to the arena. Like, if you leave, you can't come back in because that is how over capacity we were. The fact that I was on that show main eventing with Moose, and that it sold out like that, and it was so packed, and it was standing room only. It was really cool, really humbling. That makes me happy. Not saying I'm fully responsible for that, but I played a part in it, and it was very cool that it was on that night that there was such a passionate, enthusiastic crowd. Super happy with their reactions to myself and Moose's match, and super happy with their reaction to Jeff. It was a great surprise. I can't imagine how cool it would be to be in a venue like that, a smaller venue, and see, you know, the Hardy Boys reunite on that stage.
Yeah, but we got to have a convo with Brother Nero about this sense of urgency in saving you. This is like the third or fourth time this has happened now, and he just kind of likes to take his time, maybe hit a quick juke sometimes. We got to get him down to the ring a little faster, you know? I mean, you're getting your ass.
This one I didn't mind. They actually stopped. Whenever the music hit, they stopped.
They did stop. That's true. That's a good point.
That is what I wanted the other guys to do. I wanted them to stop and look and take in the moment. And I said, like, you're a fucking big star. Do your juke. He came out looking cool as shit, and he just like read it, and it was just like him running and trying to do the juke while running is what made that so awkward in the first place too, right? But all those guys, they did stop. They took in the moment, and, you know, their whole mentality is like, hold up. What the hell? This is the Hardy Boys music. That's Jeff Hardy.
That was very cool. First time ever hearing the Loaded theme on TNA TV. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. And they did that. TNA bought that. They scooped it up. They got it that day. They were scrambling to get it, and they got it just an hour or so before showtime.
Wow.
That was cool.
Very cool. Very cool. Love to hear that. Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm all about the meme and Jeff juking on his way down. I think it's great. I did hear a rumor. I know in your interview with Malcolm that you guys did, Jeff mentioned that he's cleared to wrestle with a face mask. I did hear a rumor. I haven't even talked to you about this, that there might be a specially designed Brother Nero face mask debuting soon. Curious to see if we see that.
He did design one, but he said, "Nah, I don't even want to wear it now." He said that nose stuff was kind of like AEW stuff, so he's kind of past that.
Okay.
He's kind of past that.
I think he should have done it. I think he should have rolled with it. He would have sold those things. That's merch, baby.
I had a suggestion about that, and he just wasn't into it. So yeah, I mean, I told him, I said, if you still want to do that, I see a way to get to it. You know, it's so funny. Jeff is just such a unique.
He is an enigma.
He is an enigma. He's just like, you know, he really goes to his house and he just isolates and he's just there, whatever. And then he like steps out and turns into a rock star when he walks out through the curtain. It is what it is. But yeah, man, it's one of those things. Just to reiterate, man, I think I'm really happy with where TNA is right now. They're building a lot of momentum. The Against All Odds event did great. I had really good feedback to it. It's so funny. I came back and I had to shoot promos for TV following my match. And I don't know if you noticed, it was when I dropped the leg through the table flipped over and the top clipped me right above the eye, and I was bleeding some. So we went back, we did one that was just like dramatic. It was very dramatic. It was right after the fact. We shot that, and that was with myself and Rebby and my brother. And then we did one for the following week as well, kind of setting up the matches officially that we're doing in Philadelphia. But we did these pre-tapes, and they were saying like, hey, you have the post-show meet and greet and you have a long line. I said, well, I got to do this first. This is like priority. You know, these people got to get out of here. Of course, my wife, she has to get out of there immediately. She's not going to wait on me to do a meet and greet. And then like I came out afterwards, and it was, you know, an hour after the show had ended. So we're in Chicago. It was 10 o'clock when the show went off air, Chicago time, since it started at 7. And it'd been about an hour that it took us to get this all set up and shoot and whatnot. And I came back out, and I still had over 300 people in my line for the post-show meet and greet.
Classic Hardy Boyz right there.
And then I was there till like midnight, you know, signing before I even got to drive and go back to the hotel. It was wild, man. But yeah, man, just very, very happy that there is a lot of buzz around TNA right now. Very happy that the TNA and NXT/WWE relationship is going on. I think WWE is doing great stuff. And once again, man, I hope AEW continues to grow. I hope it continues to thrive, and I want it to do great because I do think it's paramount for pro wrestling. The more the merrier. If all these companies are doing successful, it's better for all the men and women that work in this profession.
Certainly so. The wise words of the broken one, Mr. Matt Hardy. This podcast is hot too. We want you on board with it. Advertise with Hardy.com. Promote your business to the extreme. Get it out in front of thousands of listeners and viewers every single week. And I want to remind you as well, head on over to HardyBoyzLive.com or the 90s Wrestling Con website. A dual show July 13th, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at ACX1 Studios at the Pier at Caesars in Atlantic City, New Jersey. A Matt Hardy podcast, a Jeff Hardy concert. It is going to be one of the coolest wrestling shows on stage you will ever see. So excited for this one. We want you there. HardyBoyzLive.com. Matt, anything else you'd like to add?
No, man, it was a good week. It was a good weekend, and I am very energized, motivated, and ready to rock and roll towards the future.
The words have been spoken. We'll see you next time right here on The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy.
Delete!
My skin's dying because you're under it. I'm done lying to myself for this, for all the wondering, believing, man, it's making me weak. I'll fade away and classify myself as obsolete. My skin's dying. I'm done lying.
Your house is probably worth more than ever right now. But if you could change one thing about your house, what would it be? Would you put in a new kitchen? Maybe some new hardwood floors? You can do all of that with no money out of pocket at SaveWithConrad.com. Use your equity to make your house worth even more. You might even be able to get a lower payment too. A better house with a lower payment without moving? Sign me up for that. NMLS number 32416, equal housing lender. SaveWithConrad.com.